My child, sit down for a moment. Not because I need you to. Because you haven't stopped moving in days, and I want you to feel me, before I say a single word. There is a sound, only I can hear. It is the sound of a heart, that keeps working, even after the wallet is empty. It is the sound of feet that keep walking, even after the legs have said enough. Tonight, that sound is coming from you. You checked your account again today, didn't you? Not because the number was going to change between checks. You checked it, because some part of you was hoping, the world had made a mistake in your favor for once. It didn't. And you closed the app. And sat there in a silence, so loud it hurt. I saw that. I was not far off, watching from a distance. I was in the room. I was in the exhale you let out, when nobody was looking. I was in the way you smiled at your child, or your mother, or your coworker, 30 seconds later. So that no one would know what you were carrying. You are so good at carrying things quietly. Too good, honestly. You've made hiding your struggle into an art form. But I don't need you to perform strength for me. I already know exactly how tired you are. I know the specific kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix, because the weight isn't in your body, it's in your chest. So tonight, I am not going to talk to you the way people talk to you. People offer advice. People offer sympathy that expires the moment they change the subject. I am going to sit with you in the actual truth of where you are, and I am going to tell you what I see from where I stand, which is everywhere, all at once, including inside every fear you haven't said out loud yet. You have enough for today. Maybe barely. Maybe you did the math 3 times, hoping it would come out different the 4th time. That is not failure. That is a person still trying, still showing up. Still refusing to lie down and quit, even when quitting would be so much easier than another day of stretching too little, across too much. I want to say something plainly, without decoration, because you don't need pretty words right now, you need true ones. I have not forgotten you. Not for 1 hour of one day. Not while you were filling out that form. Not while you were staring at the ceiling, doing math in your head at 2 in the morning. Not while you were embarrassed to say no to something small, because saying yes wasn't possible. I was there. Every single time. This message found you tonight. Not tomorrow. Not last week. Tonight, when you have almost nothing left in the tank, when the only thing keeping you upright is stubbornness, and a small, flickering hope, you're almost afraid to admit you still have. I know it's flickering. I'm not going to pretend it's a bonfire. But a flicker is still a fire. It hasn't gone out. And I don't build with bonfires. I've always worked best with flickers, because a flicker means you're still choosing to believe, even when believing costs you something. Before you go any further, I want you to do something small with me. Not because a video needs a number, but because I want a record, even a simple one, of the moment you stopped scrolling past and actually let this in. If any part of this is landing in your chest right now, type 1010 wherever you're watching this. Not as a magic trick. As a plain, honest marker that says, I heard this tonight, and I'm not pretending I didn't. I know there are other videos like this one. I know you've probably watched a few of them, hoping each time that this would be the one that changed something. I'm not going to insult you by pretending I don't know that pattern, or by pretending this message is somehow more special than the last one, just because it's newer. What I will say is this: the words matter less than the honesty behind them. And tonight, I am asking you to receive honesty, not a formula, not a script designed to make you feel a certain way for 20 minutes, before you close the app and the feeling fades. Something steadier than a feeling. Something that's still true tomorrow morning, when the feeling has worn off, and the bills are still sitting there waiting. Now, let me tell you, what today doesn't mean. Today does not mean you are behind in life. Today does not mean you did something wrong. Today does not mean I am withholding from you, because you haven't earned enough, prayed enough, been good enough. That is not how I move. I am not a landlord, waiting for you to catch up on rent, before I let you back in. I never left. You are not locked out. You are just in a season, and seasons, by their very nature, do not last. Let's stay here for a while, in today. Because I don't want to rush past the hard part, just to get to the encouraging part. That's not how real comfort works. Real comfort sits in the mess first. You've probably had thoughts lately that scared you a little. Thoughts like, what if this is just how it is now? What if the stretching, and the scraping, and the quiet panic when a bill arrives, is simply the shape of your life, going forward? I want to address that thought directly. Because I know it's been sitting in the back of your mind, like an uninvited guest. That thought is a liar. Not because your circumstances are fake, they are painfully real, and I'm not going to insult you by pretending otherwise, but because that thought tells you the story isn't finished, and asks you to treat it as though it already is. A chapter is not a book. Where you are standing today is a chapter. It is not the ending. It only feels like the ending. Because you cannot see the next page from where you're sitting. I know what it costs you to keep going. I know the specific exhaustion of being resourceful for so long that you've run out of resources to be resourceful with. I know what it's like to open the fridge and do a calculation instead of just making a decision. I know what it's like to say, I'm fine, through a tight throat, because the real answer would take too long and cost too much energy to explain. Here is something I want you to hear clearly, because I think you've forgotten it. Somewhere along the way, needing help is not the same as failing. You have been treating your need like evidence against you, like a mark on some invisible record that proves you didn't try hard enough. It isn't that. It never was. Even the strongest hands sometimes need to be held. Even the ones who carry others sometimes need to be carried. I've watched you give when you had almost nothing to give. I've watched you show up for people who never once asked how you were actually doing. I've watched you smile through appointments, and phone calls, and awkward conversations about money, holding your dignity together, with nothing but sheer will. I noticed every bit of it. Not 1 ounce of that effort went unseen by me. And I want to gently correct something you've been believing, because it's been quietly wearing you down. You've started to believe that because things are hard, you must be doing something wrong. That if you were smarter, or more disciplined, or more spiritual, this wouldn't be happening to you. Child, that is not true, and I need you to release it tonight. Some of the strongest, most faithful people I know have walked through seasons exactly like this one. Struggle is not proof of your failure. It is proof that you are human, in a world that is still being made whole. So, let today be today. Don't ask it to be more than it is. Don't ask yourself to have all the answers for tomorrow, while you're still standing in the middle of today's fire. You are allowed to just survive this day. You are allowed to just get through it. Surviving is not weakness. Surviving, when everything in you wanted to give up, is one of the bravest things a person can do, and I see it as exactly that, brave, not lesser. I'm not asking you to pretend you feel strong. I'm asking you to let me be strong in the places where you can't be right now. That's the whole point of leaning on someone. You don't lean on a person, or on me, because you're weak. You lean, because leaning is what lets you keep walking, when your own legs are done. Let me tell you what I noticed this past week, because I think you'd be surprised by how closely I was watching. I noticed the morning you woke up, and, before your eyes were even fully open, the weight was already sitting on your chest. I noticed how you reached for your phone out of habit, checked the time, and immediately started running numbers in your head, before your feet even touched the floor. That is not how a morning is supposed to start. Mornings are supposed to be soft. Yours have been anything but, for longer than you'd like to admit. I noticed the moment you stood in a store, holding two versions of the same item. Doing math with your eyes instead of your hands, trying to decide which version of enough you could actually afford. I noticed the small, private humiliation of putting something back on the shelf, quietly, hoping no one saw. Nobody around you saw it. I did. And I want you to know, that moment did not go unrecorded, unnoticed, or unimportant to me. Small griefs are still griefs. I don't rank them by size, before I care about them. I also noticed the nights you lay awake, doing calculations that never seemed to balance, no matter how many times you ran them. The nights where sleep felt like a luxury you couldn't quite afford either, because your mind wouldn't stop working, even when your body begged it to rest. I was there in those hours too. Not distant. Not watching from far away, like a spectator. Close. Close enough to hear the thoughts you never said out loud, the ones that started with, "What if?" and ended in silence, because you were too afraid to finish the sentence. I want you to know something about those unfinished sentences. You don't have to finish them alone. You don't have to solve the "what if" by yourself in the dark. You can bring me the whole unfinished thought, exactly as messy and afraid as it is, and let me sit in it with you, instead of rushing to hand you an answer you're not ready to hear yet. From where I stand, I see more than the balance in your account. I see the years behind you, and the doors still ahead of you, that haven't opened yet, but are already being prepared. I see the version of you, 6 months from now, who looks back at this exact night, and remembers it, not because everything changed instantly, but because this was the night you stopped carrying it entirely alone. You've been so focused on the number that isn't there yet. You've missed the movement that's already happening around you. Doors don't swing open loudly. They shift quietly first. A conversation someone has about you, in a room you're not in. A decision someone makes, to reach out, instead of staying silent. A small opportunity that looks unrelated to your prayer, but is actually connected to it, in a way you won't understand until later. I want you to think back, just for a moment, on every other impossible season you've already survived. The one that felt like it would break you. The one where you didn't see how you'd make it through the week, let alone the month. You made it through. Not because it magically got easy, but because provision came in ways you didn't predict, timing you didn't control, and help you didn't see coming until it arrived. That pattern is not a coincidence. That pattern is me. I don't want you to fixate on a single date. As though your worth, or your hope, depends on something dramatic happening by a specific hour. Life, and I, don't usually move like that. What I will tell you is this: relief rarely announces itself in advance. It tends to arrive in the middle of an ordinary moment, a phone call, a message, a decision someone makes on your behalf, a door you almost didn't knock on. Stay watchful this week. Not anxious. Watchful. There's a difference. Anxious grips the throat. Watchful. Keeps the eyes open. I also want to speak to the specific fear, that you might be too proud, or too tired, to ask for what you need. I know you've talked yourself out of reaching out, more than once. I know you've typed messages you never sent, because asking felt like losing. Hear me clearly, reaching out is not losing. Silence has cost you more than asking ever will. I am not telling you exactly what to do, because I trust you know your situation better than anyone. But I am telling you not to let pride keep your hand closed when it should be open, whether that hand is reaching toward another person, or reaching toward me. You have people around you, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Some of them don't know how bad it's gotten, because you've hidden it so well. Some of them are waiting for you to say the word help out loud, because they don't know how to offer, without making you feel small. Consider this your permission. If you needed one, to stop protecting everyone else from your reality. There is someone whose face just came to mind while I was saying that. Maybe it surprised you. Maybe it's someone you haven't spoken to in a while, or someone who has been quietly struggling too, in their own version of tonight. Send this to them. Not because a video told you to, but because you both might need to hear, in the same week, that today is not the end of the story. I want to talk for a moment about the difference between what looks like enough, and what actually is enough. You've been measuring your situation against an image in your head, of what okay is supposed to look like, a certain number in an account, a certain kind of stability, a certain absence of stress. And by that measure, you feel like you're failing constantly, every single day, because the picture in your head never quite matches the reality in your hands. I want to gently take that measuring stick away from you tonight. Not because your needs aren't real, they are, and I'm not dismissing a single one of them, but because that particular measuring stick was never a fair way to judge a season. Seasons are not meant to be judged by comparing them to a finished picture. They are meant to be lived, one honest day at a time, trusting that the picture is still being built, even when it doesn't look like much yet. Think about the people you've watched go through hard seasons before you, people who came out the other side. Did their breakthrough usually look like a single, dramatic moment out of nowhere? Or did it usually look, in hindsight, like a series of small things lining up, a conversation here, an opportunity there, a decision someone made, that they didn't even know would matter until later? Most of the time, it's the second one. Provision is rarely a single lightning strike. It's usually a current, building underneath the surface, that eventually rises high enough to be seen. I also want to speak to the comparison that's probably been eating at you lately, watching other people seem to move forward, while you feel stuck in place. I know how heavy that comparison gets, especially at night, especially when you're scrolling, and everyone else's life looks easier than yours from the outside. What you're seeing is a highlight, not a whole story. Nearly everyone you're comparing yourself to has had, or will have, their own version of tonight, their own quiet, private struggle, that they hide just as carefully as you're hiding yours. You are not uniquely behind. You are simply in the part of your story that isn't meant to be posted. There is a kind of work I do that nobody claps for, because nobody sees it while it's happening. It looks like nothing from where you're standing. It looks like an ordinary Tuesday. An unanswered message, a slow week, that feels exactly like the week before it. But behind that ordinary surface, arrangements are being made that you have no way of tracking. Think of it like a kitchen, before a meal is served. From the dining room, all you see is an empty table and a closed door. You don't see the chopping, the seasoning, the careful timing, happening behind that door. If you judged the meal by what you can see from the table, you'd assume nothing was coming. But the absence of visible progress is not the absence of progress. I want to gently correct a pattern I've watched you fall into. You've started measuring whether I'm working by how your circumstances look on the surface. When things look the same, you assume nothing has moved. But some of the most important shifts happen exactly where you can't see them, in someone else's heart toward you, in a decision forming that hasn't been spoken yet. In timing lining up piece by piece, like a puzzle only I can see the full picture of. I know patience feels less like a virtue, and more like a punishment, when you're the one who's hungry, or behind, or scared. I'm not going to spiritualize your exhaustion away, by telling you to simply wait well, as if waiting doesn't cost anything. It costs plenty. I know that. But I want you to understand that waiting, in this case, is not the same as being ignored. You are not stuck in a waiting room, with no one behind the desk. You are in a waiting room, where the work is actively happening, just out of your line of sight. Here's something practical, and true, this week, pay attention to small things you might normally dismiss. An unexpected message. A conversation that turns in a direction you didn't plan. A door that opens slightly, even if it's not the big one you were hoping for. Provision often starts small, and builds. Rather than arriving all at once, like a lightning bolt. Don't despise the small opening, because it isn't the whole answer yet. Small openings are still openings. I also want to speak directly to the shame that sometimes creeps in around asking for help, or accepting it. You may have grown up believing that needing anyone made you weak, or a burden, or less than. I want to dismantle that belief tonight, gently, but completely. Every single person you admire, every person whose strength you've looked up to, has stood exactly where you're standing, at some point, needing something they couldn't provide for themselves, and having to decide whether pride or survival would win. The ones who made it through chose survival. There is no shame in choosing that too. If this is landing somewhere real in you right now, this is your second moment to mark it. Type 1010 again, if you need to. Not because repeating a number changes anything on its own, but because saying it twice means you're letting this sink in, instead of letting it slide past you, the way so many things have lately. I want to address one more thing before we move forward, because I think it's been quietly shaping how you interpret everything that's happened lately. You've probably wondered, at some point in the last few weeks, whether I'm actually paying attention to the small, unglamorous details of your life, or whether I only show up for the big, dramatic moments. I want to answer that plainly. I am not a distant observer, who only steps in for the headline moments. I am present in the ordinary Tuesday, just as much as I am present in the miracle. The parking spot that opened up when you were exhausted and almost gave up looking. The stranger who let you go first in line, on the day you were closest to breaking. The song that came on at exactly the right second, and made you cry in your car, for reasons you couldn't fully explain. None of that was random. I have never once been absent from the small things, even when you assumed I was only interested in the large ones. I also want to speak honestly about disappointment, because I know you've been disappointed before, maybe even disappointed by hope itself. By believing something would shift, and then watching it stay exactly the same. I'm not going to pretend that pain away, or explain it in a tidy sentence. Some disappointments simply hurt, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. What I will say is this: past disappointment is not proof that hoping again is foolish. It is proof that you're human, that you cared, that you let yourself want something, instead of numbing yourself into not wanting anything at all. That capacity to still want, still hope, even after being let down, is not naive. It's courageous. There's a specific kind of relief that comes the moment a person stops pretending they're fine. Not relief that fixes the situation instantly. I want to be honest with you, this isn't a promise that your bank account transforms the second you exhale, but relief that changes how heavy the situation feels to carry. A weight shared, even just with me, sits differently on the shoulders than a weight hidden. You've been so used to holding everything together that you've forgotten what it feels like to set something down, even for a moment. I'm asking you to set it down tonight. Not permanently, not as if your responsibilities disappear, but for the length of this message, let yourself stop performing okayness. Let yourself just be exactly where you are, without editing it for anyone, including yourself. I want to talk about correction for a moment, because I think there's a habit worth naming gently. You have a pattern of pushing help away the moment it gets close, because accepting it makes the situation feel too real. You'd rather struggle in silence than admit out loud how bad it's gotten. I understand why. Admitting it makes it undeniable. But undeniable is not the enemy here. Undeniable is actually the doorway to change, because you cannot fix, or receive help for, something you refuse to name. So tonight, name it. Not to the whole world. Just to me. In whatever words come naturally, even messy ones. Tell me exactly what today cost you. Tell me what you're afraid tomorrow will cost you too. I am not asking for polished prayers. I am asking for honest ones. Here is something I want to plant in you, not as a guarantee wrapped in a bow, but as a steady truth you can stand on, regardless of what happens next. You are not being punished. Whatever is happening in your finances, your energy, your circumstances, none of it is a verdict on your character. Some of the people I love most in this world have gone through seasons that looked exactly like yours, and came out the other side with a strength they didn't have before, not because the struggle was good, but because they were not abandoned in the middle of it. I also want to speak to the tiny voice that whispers you should feel guilty for needing this message at all. As if struggling with money makes you less spiritual, less capable, less worthy of good things. That voice is not mine. I never measure your worth by your bank balance, your job title, or how put together your life looks from the outside. I measure it by nothing, because your worth was never something you had to earn in the first place. It was settled before you ever worried about a single bill. If you're still with me here, deep into this message, past the point where most people would have stopped watching, I want you to know that says something about you. It says you're still reaching, even when reaching is exhausting. That reaching is not wasted. Consider staying connected here, subscribing not as a favor to a channel, but as a small, quiet way of saying you're choosing to keep listening for moments like this one, instead of walking through hard seasons, completely alone. Let me speak for a moment to the version of you that shows up for everyone else first. You have made a habit, maybe without even realizing it, of putting your own struggle at the very bottom of the list, underneath everyone else's needs, everyone else's schedule, everyone else's crisis. You've told yourself that your own pain can wait, that it's not urgent, compared to what other people are going through. I want to correct that, gently but firmly. Your pain is not less important, because you're good at hiding it. Your need is not smaller, because you've learned to function through it. You are allowed to move yourself up the list. You are allowed to let your own exhaustion matter, even while you're still capable of helping others. Those two things are not in competition. I also want to say something about identity, because I think somewhere in the last few months, you've started to quietly attach your sense of self to your circumstances. You've started to think of yourself as the one who's struggling, or the one who's behind. As though that description has become who you are, rather than simply what you're going through right now. I want to separate those two things for you tonight. What you are going through is real, and I'm not minimizing it. But it is not your identity. You are not defined by an empty account, a hard month, or a stretch of scraping by. You are defined by something far steadier than that, something that doesn't fluctuate with your bank balance, and never has. As we come to the end of tonight, I don't want to leave you with an empty promise, dressed up as comfort. I want to leave you with something sturdier than that, the truth that you are not walking into tomorrow, the same way you walked into today. Tonight, something shifted, even if you can't point to it on a calendar, or a bank statement. You let this in. You stopped performing, for a few minutes. You told the truth, even if only to yourself. I want you to carry a few things forward from here, plainly stated, without decoration. You are not behind. You are in a season, and seasons move, even the ones that feel frozen. Needing help is not failure. It is one of the most human things about you, and one of the bravest things you can admit out loud. The quiet work happening on your behalf does not stop just because you can't see it. Stay watchful this week for the small openings. Not just the big miracle you've been picturing. You are allowed to set the weight down, even briefly, even imperfectly, without guilt. Your worth was never tied to your account balance, and it never will be. I know it's tempting to close this message, and go right back to the same tight chest, the same math in your head, the same performance of being fine, for everyone around you. I'm not asking you to pretend the hard parts disappeared. They haven't. What I am asking is that you stop facing them completely alone, the way you have been, for far too long. I want to leave you with one more honest thought before we part tonight, because I think it matters more than anything else I've said so far. You do not need to have this figured out by tomorrow morning. You do not need a plan for the next 6 months right now, tonight, before you close your eyes. All you need for tonight is tonight. All you need for tomorrow, when it comes, is tomorrow's portion, no more than that, and I promise you, no less either. There is a kind of grace in taking things one day at a time, that our culture rarely teaches. We are taught to plan 5 steps ahead, to have contingencies for our contingencies, to treat uncertainty as a personal failure. But I have never asked you to see 5 steps ahead. I have only ever asked you to take the step that's actually in front of you. Tonight, the step in front of you is simply this. Rest, if you can. Breathe a little deeper than you have all day. Let your shoulders come down from where they've been sitting, up near your ears, for longer than you probably realized. I also want to remind you, gently, that you are allowed to receive good things, without earning them first. This is not a transaction. You do not need to prove yourself worthy of relief, before relief is allowed to come. That belief, that you have to suffer a certain amount, before you're permitted to be okay again, is not something I ever asked of you. It's something you picked up somewhere along the way, maybe from a world that often ties worth to productivity, worth to output, worth to how much you can endure, before you're allowed to rest. I don't measure you that way. I never have. So here is what I'm asking of you as we close. Not a demand, not a formula, just an invitation. Stay open this week. Stay watchful for the small things, the quiet openings, the doors that shift before they swing. Let people in, even a little, even if it's uncomfortable at first. And when relief does come, in whatever shape it takes, let yourself actually receive it, instead of immediately bracing for the next hard thing. You are allowed to exhale fully, not just partially, when good things arrive. If any part of this found its way into the tired, worn-out places in you tonight, let 1010 be the last thing you type before you go, as a small and honest marker that you heard this, that you let it land, that you're not walking out of this, exactly the same as you walked in. And if that name from earlier is still sitting in your mind, don't let this be the moment you think about sending it, and then forget by morning. Send it now, while it's still fresh, while you still remember why it mattered. You have made it through every single day, before this one. Every single one. That is not nothing. That is evidence, real evidence, that something has been holding you up, even on the days you were sure you'd fall. That something has not left, and it is not leaving now. I know you came into this message tired, and I know you may still feel tired, now that it's ending. I'm not going to